The Untold Story. The women WHO passed through Jamie Dornan'S life. An empty room, the walls painted ash gray. The sound of an old movie projector, the flickering light illuminating the face of a man sitting silently in the darkness. Jamie Dornan, now in his 40s, his eyes lined with fatigue. In front of him, on a white screen, were old films he had shot himself, images of the women who had passed through his life, each carrying a part of him that he could never get back. Life is like a movie that is never finished, he said softly. The only difference is, when it ends, there is no applause. Spring. Clare smiles by the lagoon. The year is 2002. Belfast still has the chill of early spring. Jamie was in his early 20s, just off the catwalk, not yet anyone but a vague young man looking for direction. He met Clare, an art student on the banks of the Lagan River, where the iron bridges reflected the dim afternoon light. She smiled brightly, her red hair blazing like fire. Clare drew him, not because he was beautiful, but because his eyes were sad like those who have never been kept by anyone. They fell in love between photo shoots, bitter cups of tea in old cafes. Clare taught him to see the world through the eyes of a creator. Don't just act, Jamie. Live in each frame. But that spring didn't last long. Clare received a scholarship to Paris. He saw her off at the airport, without any promises. When the plane took off, he realized he had never said, "I love you." Many years later, when he was famous, he still kept the sketch Clare drew. In the corner of the paper, she wrote a small line. Every artist starts from a sadness they don't understand. Summer, Sophia, sunny days in Lisbon. In 2008, Jamie entered the film industry. He went to Lisbon to shoot a perfume commercial, and there he met Sophia, a Portuguese photographer, 3 years older than him, with bright, confident eyes. They met during a photo shoot on the beach in Cascais. Sophia spoke English with a Latin accent. "Do you know how beautiful the light is here? It's like being in love." Sophia taught him to love randomness, broken photos, strange streaks of light, imperfect moments. Together they wandered through the small alleys of Lisbon, ate pastel de nata, laughed out loud in the middle of the night. But that love was as bright as summer. It came quickly, burned strong, and died unexpectedly. One morning, when Jamie woke up, Sophia was gone. On the table was a picture of him sleeping, the sunlight shining through the curtains, and a handwritten note. "I don't know how to keep people who belong to a different light. Just be you, before the world defines you." Years later, he found that picture in an old suitcase. In his sleeping eyes, he looked peaceful, a peace that his entire career would never bring. Autumn. Elellanena. When the lights hit the silver screen, Jamie was already a sought-after actor. He met Elellanena, a British screenwriter, at a script reading. Elellanena was unlike anyone else, cold, intelligent, with a penetrating gaze. "Do you think you understand the character?" she asked. "I try." "No. You're just playing yourself, the man who's afraid of being seen through." The words haunted Jamie. They began to meet outside of work. Elellanena wrote, he read, they discussed cinema, philosophy, and the loneliness of the artist. There were no confessions between them, only long nights filled with the sound of typing on a keyboard and slow breathing. One day, Elellanena handed him a new manuscript, saying, "This is a script I wrote about you, but in it, the main character never dared to truly love anyone." He read it, silent. The story ended with a man leaving as autumn was just around the corner. The following month, Elellanena went to Berlin for a conference. She never returned. On her desk, she left a note. "If you ever play this role, do it for real. Because that's the last time I believe you can." Many years later, Jamie received a film script called Autumn Man, sent by an anonymous screenwriter. The story was identical to the old manuscript, except for one detail: the last man who dared to say he loved me. Winter, Marianne, silence in the snow. In the midst of the pandemic, the world froze. Jamie lived in isolation in a cabin in Northern Ireland. He met Marianne, his neighbor who lived 2 woods away, a widowed writer, quiet, with misty eyes. They first met in an empty supermarket. She asked him, "Did you buy all this coffee?" He laughed, "No, I was just escaping reality." They started walking together every morning, in the white snow. Marianne talked about her husband, a photographer who died on a mountain climbing trip. Jamie talked about his youth, about the roles that made people think he understood love. "Do you really love?" she asked. "I used to think so. But maybe I only love the memory of them." Marianne smiled. "If you remember, it means you still love. Memory is also a form of love." They made no promises, did not talk much. One morning, the snow stopped falling, Marianne disappeared. In the wooden mailbox, there was only a small notebook, the diary she had written all winter. The last page had the words, "When the snow melts, I will go. Because the one who stays behind will truly know that winter is over." He looked out, the last snowflake melted in his hand. He understood, every winter must end. The Unseen Season. 2025, Jamie Dornan returned to the set, preparing for the film he co-produced and starred in. The film's title, The Unseen Women, Women No One Saw. The film tells the story of a man who watches old movies, trying to remember the faces of every woman he has ever loved, every woman he has ever lost. Unknown to anyone, he wrote the script alone, from fragments of memories, from wounds no one has touched. In the final scene of the film, the main character says, "I have loved 4 women, each one a season. But perhaps, what I was looking for was not them, but myself." In those years, on the day of the closing ceremony, the director asked, "Do you see yourself in the character?" Jamie just smiled. "I only played what I forgot to say." That night, he sat alone in the preview room. On the screen, faces followed one after another: Clare, Sophia, Elellanena, Marianne, all melted into light. Then the screen went white. A female voice rang out, "Unknown. Have you learned to love yet, Jamie?" He closed his eyes. "Not yet. But I learned to remember." The light went out. The projector stopped. In the darkness, only the breath of a man, and the echoes of the old seasons.